Let's talk about rebuilding. Because this entire series has been covering some heavy ground: manipulation, exploitation, cultural pressure, psychological damage, and at some point we have to talk about what comes after all of that. What does it actually look like to rebuild your confidence when you have spent years letting a society's expiry date narrative run your inner voice? How do you genuinely move forward when the damage is not just from one bad relationship, but from an entire cultural framework that told you from a young age that your worth was a countdown timer? I want to be honest with you about something up front. Rebuilding confidence after this kind of internalized pressure is not the same as rebuilding confidence after something like a job loss or a failed exam. Those experiences are external, they happen to you, and recovery involves processing the event. What we're talking about here is internal. The message that you are running out of time, that your value decreases with age, that being single in your 30s is a form of failure. That message got inside. It became part of how you talk to yourself. It became the lens through which you interpret your own experiences. Changing that is not a matter of simply deciding to feel differently. It requires consistent, deliberate work over time. The first step, and it genuinely is the first step, not just something that sounds good to say, is identifying where the voice is actually coming from. When you hear the thought, "I am too old for this," or "no one will want me now," or "I should be grateful for whatever I can get," I want you to ask yourself, is this my voice, or is it someone else's? Because those thoughts did not originate inside you. They were put there by your family's comments, by K-dramas that told you what a woman's timeline was supposed to look like, by social media, by relatives at gatherings who thought they were being helpful when they were being harmful. Recognizing that the voice is borrowed, that it belongs to a system, not to your actual self, is the beginning of being able to question it. The second thing is to actively seek out evidence that contradicts the narrative. This sounds simple, but it requires intention. Your brain, after years of absorbing a particular story, will automatically notice things that confirm that story and overlook things that contradict it. That is just how human cognition works. It is called confirmation bias, meaning we unconsciously look for proof that what we already believe is true. To counteract this, you have to deliberately look for the counterexamples. Women in their 40s who found genuine love. Women who built deeply satisfying lives without marriage. Women who left bad relationships in their 30s and built something far better afterward. These examples are not rare, they are everywhere. But you have to be looking for them because the cultural narrative you grew up with was definitely not pointing you toward them. Third, and this is uncomfortable, you have to be willing to sit with the discomfort of not having all the answers about your future. One of the things that makes the expiry date pressure so powerful is that it offers a false kind of clarity. It says, here is the timeline, here is what you are supposed to do, here is what success looks like. Following that script, even when it is wrong for you, feels safer than the open-endedness of designing your own path. But that open-endedness is not actually the terrifying thing it has been presented as. It is freedom. It just takes some getting used to, especially if you have spent a long time operating within someone else's framework. Fourth, build your sense of self around things that do not have expiry dates. Your kindness does not expire. Your sense of humor does not expire. Your ability to form deep friendships does not expire. Your professional capabilities, your creativity, your courage, your wisdom, none of these things diminish with age. In fact, many of them deepen with time. The parts of you that are genuinely worth knowing and genuinely worth loving are not on a countdown. Only the cultural story says they are. And you get to decide how much authority that story has over your life. Fifth, community matters enormously. It is very difficult to sustain a different internal story about yourself when everyone around you is reinforcing the old one. If your social circle consists primarily of people who are constantly asking when you are getting married, who treat your relationship status as the primary measure of your success, who make comments that chip away at your confidence without probably even realizing it, then part of your rebuilding work involves expanding that circle. Finding even a small number of people online or in person who hold a different view of what a woman's life can look like, who celebrate who you are rather than judging where you are in relation to a cultural checklist, can make a significant difference to how sustainable your own internal shift feels. This is not a quick process. Anyone who tells you that confidence is simply a decision you can make on a Tuesday morning has never actually dealt with years of internalized cultural pressure. It is a practice. Some days will be easier than others. Some days the old voice will be very loud. The goal is not to silence it permanently and immediately. The goal is to gradually make your own voice, the one that knows your actual worth, that does not need a wedding ring to feel complete, that understands you are a full and valuable person at every age. That voice gradually needs to become louder than the borrowed one. That shift is possible. It takes time and support, and it is completely, genuinely worth working toward. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for Japanese and Korean language learning content, fun ESL class stories, sometimes even the toxic ones, plus videos about pets, plants, and anything interesting I discover in my daily life.